Are you ready to be fired up? Because I sure am. I have Rod Khleif here. He has an amazing podcast of his own where he's had just some of the most awesome guests on. He also has made millions and millions of dollars and lost over $50 million during the 2008 recession and built everything back up to that and so much more. So we're going to be talking today about what kind of mindset it takes, number one, to have a multi-bazillion dollar business, to lose it, and then to recreate it again. So sit back and let's get ready to be fired up. Hi, Rod. How are you? Thanks for being here.
Hey, Krista. Would you please bring your energy up a little bit, because I'm trying to stay awake here. I'm kidding.
That's one thing. I cannot tell you. People always tell me how much energy I have, and it's like a natural thing. I don't really drink much caffeine.
Awesome.
I was like kind of born that way. So,
awesome.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, I love we were talking about before the podcast, like what we should focus on, and I really wanted to focus on fear, because I'm not the best teacher of how to, overcome fear, because I kind of just take life by the horn. So that's what we're going to be discussing, but I want to kind of go back a little bit about your story beforehand.
Sure. So I'm going to go way back because it kind of ties into what we're going to talk about. So I'm a Dutch immigrant, wooden shoes, windmills. I immigrated when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert and my mother Zwancha. Came across on a big boat. I remember my mom crying when she saw the Statue of Liberty. It was in 1966. And that really dated me. I was 6 years old. And so we ended up in Denver, Colorado, and we didn't have much. So, I remember eating expired food. We shopped at an expired food store, drinking powdered milk with our cereal in the morning, which was cheaper than real milk. And trust me, sounds better than it is. And, wearing clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till I finally got disgusted when I was 14 and I was tall and I lied about my age at Burger King and said I was 15 because I could get a job, and got a job flipping burgers so I could buy my own clothes. And, I'm sure you've got listeners that had it harder than I did, and maybe have it harder now with all the crap that's going on out there. But I knew I wanted more. And luckily, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. We always had a house full of kids. And she was a bit of an entrepreneur. She actually invested in the stock market successfully with no formal education. And she also invested in real estate. So her first real estate acquisition was the house right across the street from us. She bought when I was about 14 for about 30 grand. Then when I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep. I'm like, what? You just made $20,000? You didn't do anything? Screw college. I'm getting into real estate. So I went out and got my real estate license, and I was going to be rich in real estate. Well, I was still living at home with mom, and my first year in real estate, I made about 8 grand. My second year, maybe 10 grand. But my third year, I made over $100,000. Which back in 1980 was some pretty decent change.
Yeah.
And so what happened between year 2 and 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy. I was actually dating his daughter, because I actually had my broker's license, but I was smart enough to work for another broker, and I was dating his daughter, and he taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology, and how 80 to 90% of your success in anything is just that, your mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is the real estate stuff I talk about on my podcast and the technical stuff. It's really, you got to actually take action with what you learn and make it happen. And so fast forward to today, I've owned over 2,000 houses that I've rented long-term. I own thousands of apartment units now. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might say, wow.
Like while you slept, explain that.
Well, what I mean is my net worth went up $17 million in 2006 because of what was happening in real estate prices. Okay.
Gotcha,
and if you want to do the math on that, it's $8,300 and some dollars an hour, which of course I did. And I got a head so freaking big, I could barely fit it through a door. I thought I was a real estate god. And when that happens, God of the universe will give you a nice little beat down. Well, that was 2008. I lost $50 million, like you said, conservatively, actually, probably a little more than that. And so, I enjoy talking about the mindset it took to have that 50 million, but probably more importantly, the mindset it took to recover from losing everything, to the success that I'm blessed to have today. And I'm happy to drill down on that with you. I think it'll add some value to your peeps if you'd like, Krista.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want you to talk about. 1,000%.
All right. So, if you come to one of my boot camps, I teach people how to buy multifamily. I had 1,000 people in Orlando in September, and I do, virtual events. I got a virtual event coming up in April, and where I teach people how to buy apartment complexes. Well, if you come to that, the first hour and a half is goal setting on steroids. Because how the hell do you get anything if you don't know what it is? You got to know what you want and why you want it. You've got to create that hunger that Napoleon Hill, a burning desire, actually calls it in Think and Grow Rich. You got to create that burning desire. You got to really want it, because that's how you push through fear. That's how you push through limiting beliefs. And, that's how you get uncomfortable to go create what it is that you want. That burning desire will get you back up when you get your butt kicked and you get knocked down, right? And see, that's how I had it to start with, as I had that burning desire. I knew what I wanted, but that's also how I got back up after losing it. I reassociated with what I wanted again. When you've got an average ability, but you've got burning desire, success is inevitable. Honestly, it's more the burning desire and than the technical knowledge. It's more the burning desire than the IQ, than the what you came into this with. So, you've got to want it as bad as you want to breathe.
I want to stop you for a second. And I have to just kind of like, first of all, my dog is barking right now, so I'm telling my team to help me with them. So you don't know this about me, but I haven't lived at home since I was 13. I was in a foster home, group home, juvenile hall, and there was some physical abuse happening at my home. So I left because of that. And I had my husband, my first husband and my only divorced person, but he actually ended up leaving me. And I had just left my full-time teaching job. And so I jumped into real estate, and I sold 69 houses my first year. And people ask me, how did you do that? And I will tell you, the only answer I have is my burning desire to keep my two daughters safe in their home was the only reason why I was able to sell 69 houses my first year, because it's
the why. That was your why. That's a fucking, excuse me, sorry. That is a kick butt why. Okay. And the strongest, and that's one of the things I do in my goal setting workshop is help you decide what that why is. It's the why that's going to drive you. And it's almost always other people. It's almost always doing something outside of just you. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, if you're listening and you don't want to learn multifamily, go to rodslinks.com, RODSLINKS. At the bottom, rodslinks.com is the bottom is my goal setting workshop. I do it every year on the first of the year, and it's free. I don't try to sell you anything. Go do it. People spend more time planning a freaking Christmas party than they do designing their lives. Doing your goals is designing your life. Have your spouse do it. If you got kids that are over 10 years old, have them do it. Design their life. Get them started on the right foot. Again, it's at rodslinks.com, and I'm not going to try to sell you anything. Just go do it and take control of what's going on. But yeah, you got to want it. And a lot of people are in comfort, and that comfort zone is a nice warm place, and nothing freaking grows there, right? So you got to have that desire to push through that. And a lot of people are fearful. We'll talk about fear in a second, but then you got to make a decision. And I don't mean dip your toe in the water. I don't mean 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You've got to just decide and take and that decision could be the biggest decision of your life. See, motivation will get you started, but you've got to have commitment, and you make a decision, you get committed, and then you're like a train on a track. If you're not committed, you're going to get knocked off track, and if you're not committed, then, it's just a dream. It's not an outcome. So you've got to make that decision.
So many people do not do that. Right. The problem is that so many people will make a decision. And remember, everything in our life happens because of a decision. There's nothing in anyone's life that ever happens unless a decision is made. Right. But they make a decision, and as soon as they have hard times, or they're afraid of making the decision because they're afraid they're going to mess up, or they're going to fail, or it's not going to work. And then when they do, the first sign of issues or problems or stress or hard, they just go, oh, that's my warning sign that I should stop.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And I will tell you, no decision is a decision. Okay.
Exactly.
So if you're sitting out there listening and you've been, waffling about taking charge of your life, waffling about getting out of the rat race, waffling about, grabbing life by the what and making it happen, then you're making a decision just by not taking action. Okay, so you got to make a decision. By the way, the Latin root for the word decision means to cut off, okay? A great analogy would be if you're going to attack the island, you burn your ships because you're taking their damn ships home. That's a decision. It's done. And that's the way it has to be. It's got to be done. Once you make a decision, then you got to take that first step. You know, Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith, the next step will be revealed. You know, Lao Tzu said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but you got to make that step. And sometimes that could be the biggest step of your life. And there's, you know, a lot of people are analytical. And, you know, and I love them in my business in multifamily. They're some of the most successful students that I have. But if you're analytical and you're listening, you know this, you have to check off every freaking box before you make a move. And very often you don't make a move. And you've got to get past that. You've got to recognize, I'll give you a great analogy. You can drive all the way across the United States at night with your headlights only seeing 50 feet in front of you. You know you'll make it. You may have some obstacles. You know other people have done it before you. It's the same way with any endeavor that you take. You may not be able to see the whole path. Definitely in my business, in multifamily investing, you're not going to see the whole path, but you got to take action anyway. Okay, you got to make a decision and do it. You know, this life is not a dress rehearsal. You know, you don't want any, if you fear failure, I'm going to tell you, fear regret much worse. There was this nurse in Australia, hospice nurse, Bronnie Ware, and she counseled patients that were about to die. And she asked them a question, Krista, and the question was, do you have any regrets? She wrote a book about it, something like The 5 Regrets of Dying. And you know what the number one regret was? It was not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. Boy, if you're going to fear anything, fear that. Don't fear failure. We'll talk about failure in a minute.
I always say that, like, the biggest regret people have is not doing what they still have the ability to do, right? Like, it's a regret you have currently. Like, I could change this thing, but I'm not. And then looking back on life, I could see that, like, gosh, I should have done that thing. Like, what held me back? There's a story about God will tell you, if you had the ability, like, tell me where my life would have been or could have been had I done what I was capable of. Like, people would be crying, you know?
Oh yeah. It's and I don't want that, man. I want to end up in life with my hair messed up and like, oh, what a ride. That's the way I want to end up. Let's talk about fear now. So what is fear? F everything and run. You know, that's what it is for a lot of people. I like to think it's definitely false evidence appearing real. And it's also, in my opinion, you adopt the mindset that you face everything and rise. You know, everybody has fear. Even the most successful people you know have fear. I have fear. You have fear. Yeah, but the successful people push through in spite of the fear. Okay. And so, you know, I will tell you, so that's on fear. Now let's talk about limiting beliefs. You know, when I immigrated to this country, I gotta show you something back here. Take me just a second. So when I immigrated to this country, I found out what bullies were for the first time. And I got my butt kicked occasionally. And then my mom, God bless her, proud Dutch woman that she was, sent me to school in these freaking wooden shoes, and leather shorts that the Germans wear for Oktoberfest, the lederhosen. So I got my ass kicked again. And then I had bullies at the end of my street. They chased me home. She'd chase him off with the fly swatter, next day ass kicking. And I came up with this belief system that I wasn't good enough. I used to ask myself, how could I show them I'm good enough? And, you know, lots of people have these limiting belief systems. The thing you got to remember is there's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99.9% of them are BS, but we believe they're real. You know, I'm not smart enough. I'm not analytical enough. That was another one of mine. I'm not old enough. I'm not young enough. I mean, we all have these stories and these belief systems that have no basis in fact, okay? And so if you have one of these and you're conscious of it, I'm not enough or whatever, you're conscious of it, whenever it pops up, pull it out into the daylight, look at it with your adult rational mind and recognize that it's BS. And you do it enough and it'll go away. I mean, I used to be afraid to raise my hand in front of 10 kids in class, and now I literally speak in front of thousands and thousands of people a year. And so, all right, the next piece is focus. And, you know, I host a podcast. It's the largest commercial real estate podcast in the world. We're well over 20 million downloads. And the reason I'm bringing that up is I'm not bragging. There's a moral to that in just a second. But here's the thing. Wherever your focus goes, your energy flows. Okay, that's a Tony Robbins quote, actually. So, but if you have an incredible focus, you're going to have incredible success. And whatever you focus on gets larger, both positive or negative. Okay, and you know, I get people call me and say, "How do I get out of student loan debt?" I'm like, wrong freaking question. How do you make so much money that debt's irrelevant is the right question. Because again, what you focus on grows. They asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war. She said, "No, I'm pro-peace."
Yeah.
You get it? You know, and so, you know, focus is critical. And I'm going to tell you, I picked up on something. So I watch two podcasts that I enjoy. One of them is Joe Rogan, and the other one is Tim Ferriss. And I try to get both sides of the aisle. I'm definitely on one side, but I listen to Tim Ferriss's show anyway because he interviews the best of the best in the world, the best athletes, NFL players, NBA players, Michael Phelps, people like that, billionaires like Ray Dalio, biggest CEOs of the world like Zuckerberg, actors like, Arnold, Ed Norton, Hugh Jackman, etc. And he deconstructs their success and real high level intellectual conversations. I got to give him a shout out. And the reason I bring that up, I brought my podcast up, is they get about 20 million a week, okay, to my 20 million total. Anyway, but anyway, I started to hear a pattern in all these people that he interviewed that are the best in the freaking world at what they do. And a lot of them meditate. What does meditation enhance? Focus, right? So, and I don't know about you, Krista, but I'll be sitting watching some stupid crap on Netflix, and then I'm scrolling through my social media. And here's what's wrong with that. That kills your focus because your brain is like making these micro decisions all the time, and it's horrible on your focus. Meditation, though, that's the answer. So next piece is playing to your strengths. I'm going to tell you, a lot of people try to get you to build up your weaknesses, but I'm going to tell you, when you play to your strengths are your greatest assets. Don't focus on your weaknesses. Success becomes much faster if you're maximizing your strengths, okay? I would tell you, align or hire or partner for your weaknesses. Definitely in the multifamily business, my business. The best operators I see are a combination with someone that's analytical with someone that's outgoing, people playing to their strengths. But see, when you play to your strengths, you're going to love what you do. And frankly, when you love what you do, success is inevitable, right? And so, how do you find out what your strengths are? You can do a Myers-Briggs profile. Tony Robbins has this really cool thing called a DISC profile. It's free, DISC profile. Ask some of your friends. They'll tell you what your weaknesses are first, of course, but ask them what your strengths are as well. But here's the thing, when you're playing in your strengths, first of all, you love what you do. You never work another day in your life. Work is play, right? But the other thing is you're passionate at that point, because when you love what you do, you're passionate, and passion is required to influence people. And, if you're going to get into any business, you're going to need to influence, and, you operate from that passion, and you have that ability to influence. And passion also is the fuel. When you have a problem that pops up, it's not a big deal because you're passionate about what you're doing. So don't settle. Don't play small. Figure out what juices you and inspires you and do that. The passion breeds creativity, breeds innovation, and frankly, it minimizes or even eliminates fear. So do what you love, do what you're strong at, and you'll be doing what you love. Next thing is your peer group. You've heard the saying, who you hang out with. Yeah, it's everything, honestly. And with kids, especially, and as an adult as well, who you hang out with is who you become. And, you've heard the adage, you show me your 3 or 5 best friends and I'll show you who you are. And it's absolutely the truth in every aspect of your life, your health, your relationships, your happiness, definitely your finances. And I'm going to tell you, you want to be around people that think what you think is hard is easy, because a rising tide lifts all ships. And unfortunately, a lot of people default to people they went to school with or people they work with. And sometimes those people, even not intentionally, don't have your best interests at heart. They're the naysayers, they're the poo-pooers, and sometimes it's family. I'm going to tell you, love your family, but proactively choose your peers. Proactively choose who you allow to impact you, especially when you're about to get started on some side hustle, some dream that you have. When you get started, it's a fragile thread. Protect it. Only get around people that are going to inspire you and motivate you and push you. Like, I've got a mentorship.
A book called Who Not How from Dr. Ben Hardy and Dan Solomon. It's so true. I mean, my dad edits all my books, and he says, why do you keep hiring all these coaches? You're already in the top 1% of coaches, top 1% of realtors. And I said, Dad, that is why I'm in the top 1%, because I've personally in the past 6 years spent over $1.3 million in my own personal coaching and development.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
wow, that beats me. I've never met anybody that beats me. That beats me. Wow. Yeah. That's impressive. Well, I'll tell you this, Michael Jordan, at the height of his career, best in the freaking world, had 5 coaches. I think he had 6 actually, because there was an assistant coach in there. So there you go. But my mentorship program, I've got about 1,500 coaching students, and something I'm really proud of. They now own upwards of 190,000 units that we know of. We're counting all the time. And I've only been teaching 6 years. But here's the thing. it's the dynamic of that group because they're all holding themselves to a higher standard. Everybody's praising each other when they accomplish something. They're not trying to minimize it or make themselves look good or feel better by trashing it. They're all building each other up. And, that's the power of getting in a peer group like that. People that push you, hold you accountable, praise you. And
Napoleon Hill says it, mastermind group, right?
That's it. That's it.
You have 1,500, two minds become three, 1,500 become 15 million.
I've given away, Krista, and I'm not exaggerating, well over 5,000 copies of Think and Grow Rich. Okay. You come to one. Yeah. I don't want to blow the surprise, but I'll do it. If you come to one of my boot camps, you'll always get it. Okay. I give thousands and thousands of copies. It's the precursor to all self-actualization, self-improvement, and motivation. And so, like I say, if you're going to play tennis, do you want to play somebody better than you or worse than you? I mean, you know the answer, right?
Yeah.
And
we
so
have a lot in common. I literally was reading Think and Grow Rich, getting dressed, blow drying my hair. And I literally stopped what I was doing, went to the computer and was made a commitment. I'm doing this thing, right? Leaving my full-time safe teaching job. I'm sorry, my real estate career, be a coach because it's finally, Krista, get off your butt, scared to death. But I love Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Definitely. So many. I mean, it's not a book you read once. You literally read it 2 or 3 times a year. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about problems and failure. Okay. I call them seminars. Okay. I believe we fail our way to success. Problems are a gift. You don't have, when you come to one of my boot camps on Monday after the boot camp, you will get a survey that says, what'd you think? Did we suck? Were we great? And I don't say it like that. I'm just playing here, but what didn't you like? What did you like? And of course, 99.9% of the feedback's fantastic, but I'm looking for that 1%, it's and usually it's just the room was too cold or the food sucked or something like that. But I'm looking for ways to improve. How do you get better if you don't get that feedback? So don't avoid problems. Don't avoid feedback because that's the only way you learn and grow. Only people that don't have problems are dead. I got to meet, Henry Ford said an airplane takes off against the wind. I thought that was a great quote. Without problems, we don't change, and if you don't have problems, frankly, respectfully, and hear me now, if you don't have problems, you're not trying. Okay. I love you, but it's the truth. Problems are learning opportunities. I got to meet the billionaire owner of Spanx, Sarah Blakely. Started with $5,000 for you guys. That's the women put it under their clothes to hold everything together. And she started with $5,000 and, she's a billionaire. She was in Forbes recently. And, she told me at this mastermind, I spend a lot of money on me too. I'm shocked how much you spend, but I was at a mastermind of some of the best marketers on the planet. And
I'm dumber than you, Rod. I need a lot of help.
So do I. No. Trust me, you're not. But she told me that her dad used to ask her and her brother on about a weekly basis, what have you failed at this week? And I thought, man, that is a freaking awesome question to ask your kids so they don't fear failure. Don't you agree? I mean, that's just extraordinary question. Well, that's I've got some other things I like talking about, but I
love what you're saying. I want to hear too about, I know you have you're great as far, I love kids. Kids are kind of my thing. And
let me lead into that. Okay. I know what you're going to say. Hold on. There's a story that ties into that. Okay. But before we go there, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you'll be glad I did here in a second. So another thing that you need to embody in your life to have an amazing life is gratitude. Okay. I will tell you, it's the most important foundational emotion that we have. It makes us stronger when we face adversity. It strengthens our immune system, believe it or not. It makes our heart stronger, lowers our blood pressure, of course, brings us closer to our spirituality. I would encourage you, if you watch my goal setting workshop on Rod's links, at the end is my planning process. I teach a weekly planning process, which is incredibly powerful. It's how I manage 2 very large companies at the same time. But part of that process is to journal for a few minutes of anything you're grateful for. Okay. And magic moments, things like that. Gratitude also is what attracts everything you want into your life. Okay. So I will tell you, most mornings I will sit in my recliner and I'll just be grateful for the people that I love in my life. I'll be grateful for, my students, my family, things like that. But then I'll be grateful for the things that I want as if I already have them, and sometimes I'll get emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet. And I know I lost a few analytical ones on that one, but I'm here to tell you, this is how I had 50 million to lose and how I got it back. So ignore it at your peril because it freaking works. Gratitude. So now let's talk about contribution, which is what you were going to ask me about, but I didn't want to spoil it because I really want to share this story. It's a powerful story. So when I lived in Denver, but I knew I always wanted to live in the beach, and there's no beach in Denver, obviously, but I would visualize the beach and the palm trees and the sand and the surf for 20 years. And I ultimately built this incredible 10,000 square foot mansion on the beach. I actually owned the beach on one side and had my boats on the backside. It was called a Gulf to Bay. So I had the beach and the boathouse, which is boat lifts, which was incredible. And just to describe this place, it's worth probably about 25, 30 million now. When I built it, it was about 8 to 10, but
wow.
Big spiral staircase up through the middle. Giant waterfall from the second floor balcony into the pool. You had to walk through the pool, through the waterfall to get to the pool. Pools in magazines, wine cellar, elevator. On the second floor, I had aquariums built around the spiral staircase, custom made, cost me almost 200 grand. So this gives you an idea.
I love aquariums.
Yeah, me too. So anyway, 2 months after I moved in, so I worked for this thing for 20 freaking years, okay? 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in the pool at night, and I'm looking up at this testament to my ego, which is really what it was. It was to prove to the freaking world I was good enough. I mean, if this doesn't do it, what the hell? So I was to prove it, right? I'm looking up at this thing. My family's inside sleeping. The pool's changing colors. It's got fiber optic lighting, and I got depressed. And I don't mean a little depressed. I mean, I got really depressed. And I'm like, and I just moved in 2 months before. I'm like, what the hell? I've achieved success like times 10,000. I had the family, I had the Maserati and the Mercedes and all the boats and the jet skis and all the stuff, okay? When I look back on it, Krista, there were several things happening. Number one is, you should never achieve a big goal without having other goals lined up behind it. Like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. You need a vision for the future. So that was number one. Second thing is, it's never about the goals. Happiness comes from progress and growth. And if you do my goal setting workshop and you listen to the planning process, part of that process, it's 5 steps, is to just celebrate anything you got done. Because are you going to have delays? Are you going to have, you get stopped in your tracks sometimes? If you are acknowledging even the littlest bit of progress, you'll be happy, okay? Because happiness comes from progress. You got to consciously acknowledge it. That's the operative word, consciously. But the big thing that was happening, Krista, was I was totally focused on me. Rod, show the world I matter, blah, blah, blah. And that's the year I met Tony Robbins. This is 23 years ago. And I saw that he fed families for the holidays. I went to one of his boot camps, and I spent 20 years actually following him after that. I was on his team for 8 years, and just life-changing guy. And if you have an opportunity to see him.
Were you with Tony's, really?
Oh, yeah. If you have an opportunity to see him, just do it if you're listeing. Trust me, you'll thank me.
Hold on, I have to interrupt you for a second. So I won Tony Robbins and Dean Graziasi's launch 2 years in a row. So last year, I was one of 10 people who got to spend 3 hours with him, and he worked personally with me for an hour. And then I get to go again in April. So in April, this year I was top 3. Last year I was number 2. And I get to go again in April. So I cannot wait.
Oh, fantastic. Good for you. Yeah, I've had Dean.
They flew me down to speak on their mastermind. And then they were so gracious. They had me speak on their challenge, him and Tony's. And I was like, I literally dreamt about that, going to Tony's thing. And it's like, I saw myself somehow in alignment. I was like, I'm going to be with Tony one day. And it happened. I was like, all because of everything you're teaching right now, like goal setting, visualization, putting it out there. I mean, none of it would have happened had I not single thing you're saying.
You didn't dream it. You manifested it.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest. Okay. I tell the story of Jim Carrey, wrote himself a check when he was flat broke for $10 million. Used to look at it up by the Hollywood sign. And that's how much he made for Dumb and Dumber. But anyway, so I found out that he fed families for the holidays. So I went back, I called my brother in Denver. I was going there for Thanksgiving. I said, bro, let's feed 5 families. Let's just have some fun. And so he called his church and said, found 5 families that really needed help. And the third one changed my life. Well, we had a blast buying the food. We bought toys for the kids if they had kids. Third family changed my life. We go up to this row house. It's like a 1-bedroom. It wasn't even a real 1-bedroom. It was a crappy 1-bedroom because you had to walk through the bedroom to get to the kitchen. There's a woman in there, a Hispanic woman with 5 kids. Her husband had left very recently and prior to that. And she comes out and she sees the boxes of food on the porch. She sees the toys and she starts crying. Her kids come out. Two of the older ones start crying. I start crying and I'm hooked. In the last 23 years, I've fed over 150,000 children here in my area. I've done, tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies. I fed 3,500 children for Christmas a month ago, did 1,700 backpacks in August, and I've done thousands and thousands of teddy bears to local police departments for officers to keep in their vehicles if they encounter a child that's been traumatized. And I don't say this to brag, so listen up. Don't tune me out here, okay? We've been taught in this society to achieve to be happy. Like we shouldn't be happy until we've achieved. That's a common misconception. Let me say that's a misconception, because if you give back in any fashion, you're happily achieving. And I know it's a play on words, but it's an important one. Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Achievement's a science. You want to learn multifamily? Get your butt to my boot camp. Hell, you can come for $100 and I don't sell anything there. But if you want to learn multifamily, that's a science. I'll give you the blueprint. You just got to do it. But if you want to be fulfilled, that's an art, and you've got to figure out what juices you. For me, it's kids. Maybe for you, it's animals or the environment or the elderly, whatever it is. Give back right now. Don't say, "Oh yeah, you had the money, that's why you did it." If you want the money faster, do it. That's how God works, or the universe, whatever you believe. So anyway, I'll drop the mic, but that's my.
No, that is so true. It's all about people. There's actually a study that says people they ask, would you rather be rich or happy? And people say, I'd rather be happy. But research shows that the more rich you are, the happier you are. Like there's a whole study about it because of the reason you're saying you can give more, right? Like when you can give more and be more of a philanthropist and have enough money to where you don't have to worry, that's when everything changes in life. So I believe it.
And if you want more money, give. That's just the way God works. You get it back 100-fold, 1,000-fold. Whatever you give, you receive. You want love, give love. You want happiness, smile and give happiness. You want money, give of your time or give money. That's how it works. We rise by lifting each other up. And I'm going to tell you, anything in this universe that does not contribute actually gets eliminated. Okay, so, contribution is a big part of success.
The Tiny Hands Foundation, that's the name of where you've helped over 130,000 children, correct?
Yeah, I pay. Yes, it is. I paid for it up until 2008 when I got my butt handed to me. I paid. In fact, that year I fed 1,500 families. It was like 55,000. But then I started taking donations, and yes, tinyhandsfoundation.org. Thank you for that shout out. I don't usually even throw that out there, but
I love that.
And every dime goes to the food, the backpacks, in fact, I even add a whole bunch on top of that. I pay all the operational expenses, everything else, the teddy bears. So every dime goes to help. It doesn't. Not a dime goes anywhere else. There's no salaries, nothing. I pay all that.
That's so awesome. That's so hard. It's rare because it's hard to know where to donate. It's like, where do you give your money to? This has been awesome. It's funny just listening to you. I feel like I'm listening to myself because so much of what you say is like out of the mouth of which, and I think
Thank you.
A lot of times you'll interview people and they say the same things, but it sounds so cliche, but it's all so true. Like it's just so true. And so many successful people, they'll tell you everything. Mindset is the beginning of it all. And I just really want to thank you.
Well, it absolutely it is. It absolutely is. It starts and ends with mindset. It absolutely is the most important piece. No question.
So now I'm just curious. So you say you have over 1,500 students. What do you charge for your coaching?
I don't usually throw that out there publicly because it'll scare people, frankly, or they'll make a prejudgment around it, and they shouldn't do that. If they're interested in learning what we do, go to rodslinks.com. My bootcamp site is there. My regular website is there. You can apply there, or if you want to apply to my coaching, you text the word crush. So we can help you crush it, right? You text the word crush to 72345. And I will tell you, if you have any interest in real estate, go to Rod's Links and check it out. Go to my virtual boot camp. It's like $97 right now, and there's bonuses, and I don't sell anything. It's kind of a no-brainer. 16 hours of training with nothing being sold for $97 freaking dollars. And I believe in the adage, you give, and it comes back to you. And you just add as much value as you can, and it's really served me well. And I honestly, I believe the most successful people on the planet are the ones that add the most value. And so, that's my mindset.
I agree. Everyone. So Rod Khleif, and he's got an amazing podcast as well. That's so
Thank
good.
you.
What's the name of the podcast? Can you tell everybody?
It's called Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. But again, if you go to rodslinks.com, the link is there for that as well. The link for my other social. There's tons of free books and resources there. It's a really so rodslinks.com. Or you can text, if you're driving, text the word links to 72345.
72345 links, LINKS. Rod, thank you so much for being here. It's been great. And everyone, I always say this: information is not power. Implementation of the information is where everything comes. So go to that. And Rod, thank you so much for your time. And I hope you were all just as fired up as I am. Everyone say, awesome, Rod, thank you. But I always end it in this one manner. And you've already answered. I think I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to put it in your words. So I always end every podcast with, if there was one thing, just one piece of advice that you could give everybody, whether it's personal, business, anything, what would that be?
It's Nike's quote. Just do it. I mean, stop sitting on your heels. Just go freaking do it. You want to do it. Stop sitting on your laurels. Stop feeling, don't be in the same place you are a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, unless you freaking love where you are right now. So go take action. Figure out how the vehicle that you're going to use. I think incredible opportunities coming with this current economic environment. I actually think the what's about to hit the fan. We're going to see some real opportunity buying businesses, buying real estate, everything else, but you got to go learn it and go do it. So pick a vehicle, go learn it, and then just take action. That's it.
Oh my gosh. Look at this on my wall. Do you see that? It says, do it now. Do you see?
That's it. That's it. That's it.
My email, it's like, do it at KristaMashore.com. So everyone, you heard it right from Rod. Everyone, have a great day. Thanks for your time, and I will see you next time. I'm Krista Mashore. If you'd like to learn more about this strategy and many more, do me a favor, sign up somewhere on this event, on this page for my event, Unstoppable Agent. It's a virtual. You can take everywhere home. It's less than a couple cups of coffee, and I guarantee you that you will learn more in the first day than you will learn all year in real estate. And guess what? If you don't think so, I'll give you your refund. Click the link somewhere on this page. I'm Krista. See you soon. Have a great day. Thanks so much for watching my video. You can learn more about how to be a successful real estate professional by watching other videos that I have. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. And as always, make it a great home selling and buying day.